folks, back already for one of my favorite days of the calendar, Halloween. I can't stress enough how much I love Halloween. Naturally, since I have a slight interest in anything macabre and horror already, so it was a given. Here in the lowlands we don't really celebrate it, although it becomes more and more a thing as years go by. Look at this store in my hometown. This is paradise to me. But yeah, love Halloween, just like I love horror. Some of my earlier videos are about topics in that category that I actually would love to do over again, since, well, they are old videos and doesn't every YouTuber hate the older stuff they made? So let's talk about horror scenes in movies again. They don't really necessarily have to be scenes from horror movies, it actually can come from anything. But if the scene leaves me or has left me baffled, scared, uncomfortable or startled in any way, it counts. The first scene I want to dive into is from the Indiana Jones franchise. Now, with a name like that, we've got a wide arsenal of candidates when it comes to scary scenes. I mean, hell, Temple of Doom is just one batshit crazy fever dream. An awesome batshit crazy fever dream, but still. But today we are talking about Raiders of the Lost Ark from 1981. It might be very possible that Indy was one of my very first movie crushes, like I wanted to be this guy. Exploring caves, finding treasure, dealing with weird coexisting religions shit, all the good stuff. But from what I can recall in memory is that when discovering this movie and watching it, the ending was something I was not mentally prepared for. Since I was like, I think 10 years old, maybe younger, maybe older, around that year. Yep. The infamous opening of the Ark. The build-up to this moment has been throughout the entire movie. Every time the Ark was brought up, nobody really knew the exact content of it. Only that it was not meant for mortal eyes. But wow, do the Nazis throw this advice down the drain. They finally get their hands on this precious artifact, are prepared for whatever power it might bestow upon them, and Indy and Marion are witnessing it in captivity. What actually happens once the lid comes off, yeah, we all know. Sprites emerge and all seems cool at first, but then, with an instant music cue, the entire tone changes pronto. And the Nazi frying starts, with beams going through all directions. But our main three antagonists get their own special treatment. It freaked me out. I was in awe when Colonel Dietrich's head shrinks, Major Todd's face melts off clean, and Belloc's head explodes. The movie had intense scenes before, true, but this was a whole new level. The exploding head was pushing the rating at the time. The American rating system for cinema went for an R rating because of Belloc's head. I mean, really. Everything in this movie is all fine and dandy, but the fake-looking exploding head is where you raise fingers? Nah, Finn. To keep the intended PG rating, they covered it up with a fire filter. All is well. Frying Nazis. I could watch that all day. Next in line we have cute little rabbits. Say what? Rabbits? What could possibly be horrifying about rabbits, aside from Monty Python of course? When I was still in elementary school, there was this TV channel called Catnet, and a very cute animated series was running at the time called Watership Down. I watched it once in a while, and when I was in the library I discovered the VHS of a movie that had the same title. Unaware of anything, I took it home and watched it. Bad idea. Very bad idea. The movie was nothing like the show. It was hardcore, brutal and depressing. There was this scene where one of the characters, named Blackavar, a black rabbit with mauled ears, takes an attempt to stop the main villain of the story. Somewhere at the end. Instantly. And I mean instantly, he gets floored and his throat ripped out. This is where I stopped the movie. I couldn't watch further. Years later, I revisited the movie, more from an adult's perspective, and grew an appreciation for it. It's a very powerful story and the artwork is gorgeous. But unlike the TV series, it is not meant for children. Aside from Blackavar's death, a whole lot of messed up stuff happens. But it is a piece of art in my opinion, and if you are not with the weak of hearted, this is definitely worth a watch. I have a confession to make. Until this year, I had never seen Evil Dead before. Shocker, shocker, I know, a horror fan that hasn't seen these movies before. And one little scene that really standed out to me was when Ash is all alone in the cabin, and all of a sudden the deer head on the wall turns its head and starts laughing at him. Following the deer, all the inanimate objects start laughing like crazy, and Ash at first doesn't seem to comprehend, but goes with the flow after a bit. It's so bizarre and surreal. One of those moments where you are not sure when either you should laugh or be scared. Laughing out of fear is not unusual. A lot of people do it as a coping mechanism. For example, when you walk through a haunted house and suspect to get jump scared at any moment. Especially in a group, it can be effective. But poor Ash, he's all alone in there, and you can't even really tell if what goes around the cabin is real or Ash is just seeing things and has truly gone insane. So yeah, thanks movie. Every time I see a deer head on the wall somewhere, this scene immediately pops into my head. And I expect that head to turn to me at any second. Speaking of Sam Raimi, the brilliant mind behind Evil Dead, we go to a movie you would not really suspect to be on this list. Another franchise Raimi is known for is his take on Spider-Man. He had the shoulder-crushing task to bring Spider-Man to the big screen for the first time. There had been TV series of Spidey around, sure, but this was something big and monumental. He did a fantastic job, by the way, and the scene we are looking at is in the second installment. Now, the movies aren't exactly shy when it comes to violence, fight scenes and brutality. Take a good look at the final confrontation of Spidey and the Goblin in the first movie. But the scene we are gonna talk about is the hospital scene in the second movie from 2004. Because this was something else. A few years after 2004, I served as a babysitter once in a while, and one of the children of my clients was a Spider-Man fan. He hadn't seen the second movie yet, but the first movie he went through without any effort, so I was pretty sure he could handle this one as well. We put Spider-Man 2 on, and when we reached the hospital scene, the kid was a little on edge. It goes bonkers. This is not for fun or comical tone or anything. This is a brutal massacre. Surgeons flying around, getting electrocuted, screaming and screeching, getting grabbed by their faces, the panic, and even all of them eventually bite the dust. True horror, if you ask me. A bit of tone compared to the rest of the movie. Sam Raimi really likes his stuff, doesn't he? The boy wanted me to pause the movie and he did not want to go to sleep that night. Truth is, I never felt guilty for exposing him to this. I mean, at some point they have to deal with things like this, right? We all have our childhood moments we weren't quite ready for yet. But I would call it character building. I just talked about Watership Down and how young I was. A little traumatic, but nothing scarring. Kids can handle stuff like this way better than we give them credit for. And I know the little lad was completely fine the next day. So only a year after Spider-Man 2, another interesting movie was released in cinema, and my family and I went to see it on the big screen, except for my mother. King Kong 2005. Oh boy, do I remember this so well. My brother, Pops and I saw this, and for the first part of the movie, my brother and I were quite bored. I know, it's all set up and character building, but the first part of the movie was very whimsical, romantic and slow-paced. We still, till this day, make jokes about what we used to ask our pop during the movie. So, when's the ape coming? However, once our cast arrived at Skull Island, this is where the movie was finally getting interesting. And it goes by quite quickly, like the pacing suddenly turns it up a notch. From this point on, the movie throws one disgusting creature after the next, going and going and going. The scene I want to shine light onto was the pit scene. You all know it, our cast has fallen into the dark abyss below, down in the ground, where at first it seems abandoned, but once the flare goes out, all kinds of hell creatures emerge and prey on what is left of the character. People get attacked left and right, gigantic insects come out, a guy that tries to climb up gets struck by an arm and pulled in. It's literally hell. And Andy, oh, my poor man Andy Serkis, he really gets it the worst. Those big turd-like worms, leeches, I don't know, they come out of the mud and grab him by the head with their extendable mouths, slurping him up. Yeah, Yeah, that's the word I'm going with. He gets slurped up by these things, still trying to fight, by the way. He's going until the bitter end. If you haven't seen this movie, you probably are thinking, what the hell is she talking about? Yeah, it's a bit hard to describe. You just give it a watch yourself if you like torture. Great movie. Our mother must have thought, what kind of movie did you take the kids to?